Hey guys, I'm Jessi Kneeland of Remodel Fitness, and this is my ongoing Q&A series, Ask Jessi Kneeland. So I have a question from Lauren. She writes, I have a question that I've been pondering quite a bit lately, and I'm still in search of some guidance or answer. I adore my body. I love all the things it allows me to do. I'm fairly confident in my body, but when I look in the mirror, I constantly see more work that needs to be done. I want to be stronger and leaner, and I'm working towards that. My question is, how do you learn to love the body you have while trying to achieve a better version of it? Knowing what I'm trying to achieve, I'm becoming less satisfied with the body I have. I want to love my body during this process, but I'm struggling. Any suggestions? Thanks. I get variations on this question constantly. And I wish that the answer were really simple and that I could give you like a super awesome life hack here. Unfortunately, that's not the way it works. But I do have some thoughts. So the first one is the dissatisfaction you feel when you're focusing on a goal is normal. I should say the dissatisfaction you feel about the present state of affairs when you're focusing on your future goal is normal. And it can be incredibly motivating and awesome to, let's say like your goal was, to make more money and you're sick of being broke and you're like, someday I'm going to like make money, and that might motivate you every day to get up and go get a job or hustle to get a promotion or whatever the thing is that you're doing that ends up being really good for you. The problem is when your aesthetic goals, when you're focusing on how you want your body to look and feel and stuff, ties all up into body image issues, and that's tricky. It's kind of a slippery slope. So if you love your body full stop and have no issues whatsoever, you're probably not gonna, well, you wouldn't be asking me this question, you're probably not going to struggle with how to love it during the process, because it'll just be like, yeah, I'm like dissatisfied with it sometimes because I'm working on my goals. It would be motivating in a positive way. However, that almost never happens, not in my world anyway. I'm sure lots of people have that awesome experience, but very rarely the ones who are talking to me, because body image issues are tied up into everything and they're really difficult to actually like just avoid. So my advice in this way is that it's not always possible to do both, to focus really heavily on those goals and to feel satisfied and loving and compassionate about the body that you have. I do think it's possible to do it more, but I don't think that you can always just have aesthetic goals and love yourself as you are. Like, I don't know that those are necessarily always possible when you're in the middle of dealing with body image issues. I think down the road, or if you've healed all this someday, like then that might be perfect. But if you are at the stage of your life that you're asking a question like this, that this is a question in your head, it might not be the stage in your life that you can do both right now. So my little analogy is to imagine that the old programming is really strong, right? This programming we have about our bodies, these beliefs, and this old messaging and fears and stuff. So if the old programming was like, the only reason I garden is to grow flowers, and then you tried to change it and you were working on it and you were like, okay, well now I garden because gardening is fun and it's good for me and I like it. How do I plant gardens only for fun and enjoy the process and get flowers? So that's kind of the question you're asking, is how do I, love my body and focus on the process and achieve the goals that I want, or go after them and be really proactive about them. So somebody who's really good at gardening might be able to do both. But if you're new to this, you're probably going to need to pick one or the other. So maybe you choose to study how to get flowers. Maybe you kind of ignore like the process of focusing on the fun and the flow and the good stuff about gardening. And you're like, yeah, I can work on that later. Right now, I really just want to make flowers grow. Fine. Totally fine. And then on the flip side of that would be, well, what if you put that aside, the goals aside for a second, and you were like, okay, well, I guess I'd be okay if I didn't have any flowers this year. What I really want is to spend however long solving and reprogramming this idea that the only reason I garden is to get flowers. Now you have something else to do. You might be gardening intuitively. You might be like getting out there and being like, I love to like get my hands in the dirt and try stuff, and a lot of it's probably going to fail because you don't really know how to get flowers, because that's not what you're focusing on, and that's not where your energy is going. So both of these things, both of these goals are totally fine, totally legit, totally healthy for a different person at a different stage in their life, totally valuable. But not everybody is at a place that they can do both simultaneously. And I would actually venture to say that most people probably are not. Anybody who's asking this question probably is not. So I would just choose one. And if that means that you have to like give up a little bit, not just choose one, full stop, but like choose one that's the priority. Choose one that you're really focusing your energy on. And if that means that you have to give up the idea that like the aesthetics goals are going to be maximum, like they're going to be the best they can possibly be, then so be it, because that's not going to be your primary focus. If you choose to enjoy the process, love the body as it is, if that's what you want to heal and work on right now, heal and work on that right now. But in service of that, let go a little bit of the rigidness of what those goals look like and what you're like aiming towards. And be okay. You'll have to be okay with giving up what those results also kind of look like. Not fully, maybe, but in terms of like, maximum effectiveness, it won't be. On the flip side, if you're really interested in learning how to get to those goals, like you want to be striving and pushing towards something that's not you right now, and getting better and better, and it feels like, oh my God, this is interesting to me, and I'm finally putting together all this stuff that I've been learning. If that's where you want to spend your time and attention, totally fine. But you might have to give up a little bit of the other thing in terms of acceptance of where you are right now, for now. You might get to a point where you learn all that stuff and then you heal a little bit more, and then you learn a little bit more, and then you heal a little bit more. If you go back and forth like this, you might get to a point where you're like, oh yeah, like I can totally do both at once, all the time. But if you're not there right now, then you're not there right now. And that's not something that can necessarily be forced or chosen. I don't think it's necessarily accessible to everyone, particularly at the beginning of their journeys and when they're feeling like it's really hard, because that old programming is so strong. It has such a hold on us. It is really, really difficult to separate it out. Like, who are you without this idea that you work out for a certain body image improving reason, or I guess aesthetic reason or whatever. If you've spent 20 years trying to lose weight when you exercise, it's going to be really, really hard for you to just turn a switch in your mind and suddenly exercise for the pleasure of it and because it's healthy. It's going to be hard. So if you can't do both, that's fine. And it's actually really normal and kind of perfect, because it allows you to really focus your energy on one or the other, on improving the knowledge and the skills and moving towards a goal, and allowing yourself to be a little dissatisfied with where you are, because you want to be somewhere else. And maybe for the first time in your life, you're getting there and you're learning how to get there, and it's awesome. On the other hand, though, it is really, really difficult to look at a goal that's far away and be like, I'm not there, and have super compassionate self-talk that motivates you and feels really good and is really healthy and peaceful, if you have any issues around your body. And since most of us do, that's just the reality of the way things are. So I will say, don't mind separating them out a little bit. Don't mind focusing on one instead of both. And know that they feed each other for sure. And as time goes on, you might have access to both simultaneously all the time, forever. But if you don't have it right now, that's totally okay. And just honor that. And see what happens, because it is a long process, and that programming runs deep in our culture, for women, honestly for everybody. But like, it is especially powerful to separate out, this is my body and I move it and I treat it well and I eat healthy for compassionate, wonderful reasons, versus I do it because I'm not good enough. Those are really difficult things to deprogram, and they take time and they take attention, they take work. So if you're not doing that time and attention and work right now, then it might feel impossible to have both. So yeah, that's my answer.